Hello everyone, this is Becky with Design Bundles, and today I want to personally welcome all of my beginners who are new either to the die cutting machines or just new to Silhouette Studio. Either way, we welcome you with open arms and are super excited that you're here. Now, one of the first things that you need to know is that you can easily turn your first project from overwhelming to done in minutes. So maybe not minutes, maybe you have to put a little bit more time into it, but let's show you how. One of the awesome features available anytime you're using a software, and Silhouette Studio in particular, is that you can simply go out and purchase a design that you like and cut it with your machine to easily create a project. Now, why would you want to do that? Well, of course, you can create your own designs. I'm not telling you not to do that, but especially beginners, guys, I know how frustrating it can be, and you just kind of don't need that pressure right now. So that's what I'm here to show you, is where you can buy designs and what type of designs you want to look for to be able to use in Silhouette Studio. And then also, we're going to go through the process of making a purchase and all the steps required from point A all the way to getting it in your software and being able to cut that file. So let's go ahead and get started. Now, the website we're going to use is designbundles.net. So let's take a minute. We're going to open our internet browser, and that is where we're going to pick up designbundles.net. So here we are at the website. I did go ahead a little bit, but let me show you the main page. This is what it will look like when you first arrive at the website. You can type in any type of design that you're looking for here. Always make sure that you check out the bundles, free designs, deals, that sort of thing. They also have a crafters category over here where you can specifically search for SVG files, illustrations, mock-ups, sublimation. I mean, there's this whole world of categories for you to come in here and choose from. Now, today, the design that we're going to talk about, I am purchasing a bundle, and this one in particular, let me go ahead and give a shout out to the designer, and the designer is JSL Custom Creations. Now, I really like this little bundle that has been put together for me because, number one, I'm a crafter, so I love all these crafty little sayings, and number two, I really like that they coordinate. So new crafters, often we are wanting designs to put on all of our crafty things. If I want a decal to put on my new Silhouette Cameo, or if I want to make a sign to hang in my new craft room, I just want everybody to know how crafty I am. So that's what I'm here for. First thing I'm going to do is, if I like these designs, I can go ahead and give them a favorite. And then I can also follow the designer. So why would you want to follow the designer? Basically, a lot of designers have a very similar design style. So usually, if I like these designs, I can go to her store by clicking here. And I can see all of the things that she has to offer. Now, there's no pressure to come here and buy these. It's completely optional. But just know that when you're looking for designs of a similar style, a lot of times you can stay with the same designer and achieve that. So if I go ahead and follow the designer, then that means that I should stay up to date with all of the things that she has going on. The very next thing I'm going to do is I will go ahead and click Add to Cart. Okay, the product has been added to my cart, so it's super easy. Now to check out, all I have to do is click on my shopping cart right over here. I can either click Continue Shopping, this is a preview of my cart, or I can hit Checkout Now. So when I come to checkout, first of all, it does talk about the Plus membership. So definitely check into that. There are a lot of benefits if that's something that you're looking for. You can even get a trial period to check it out. So definitely do that. For this instance, though, I'm going to go ahead and continue to payment. And this gives me some options. I have a traditional card payment. I can check out with PayPal. And this is my personal favorite, store credit. So you can purchase store credit and it will give you that little bit extra discount off. So I do pay with store credit any chance that I get. So I can come down here, check out with store credit. So I have checked out. This is my purchase screen. And this is my preview of my order. Go to download my product. And this takes me to my purchases menu. This is basically all of my purchases, all of my recent purchases. And what I really like about that is that these purchases are going to stay here. So if I need them again in the future, for some reason I can't find it on my computer, or if I had to get a new computer, anything like that, I can come here and I can re-download those files. So here's where I want to go, right here, download files. Now it is important to note, you may not need this right away, but you can message the designer if you have questions or there are any issues with your purchase. And it's also important, as long as you are happy with your purchase, and you can come here and give the designer a rating and some feedback to let other people know how your shopping experience was. Okay, but I clicked download files and this area popped up here. I want to click right there on that link that says crafting bundle of 12. Now I'm on a PC, so if you're on a Mac, this part may be a little bit different for you, but basically it pops up down here that my crafting bundle is downloading. Once it's downloaded, I will go ahead and click on that folder and it will open to give me a preview of what is in there. So these are all the designs, okay? And it's important to note that when working in Silhouette Studio, you are looking for designs that include this DXF file. Now, I say that because we commonly refer to SVG files. Those are the type of files that we purchase and use. But if you are working on the basic edition, it's completely fine. That's your free edition. That's how you get to know the software. But when you're working with the basic edition, you cannot upload and use SVG files. The software will simply tell you this file type is not supported, and it leads to a lot of confusion. So just go ahead and notate now on the free version, you are looking for these DXF files. Now, I'm going to click over here, either up top or in my downloads folder, and you will notice that my download is in a zipped folder. Now, what that means is that all of those files have been condensed for an easier download experience, but I cannot use them as they are in a zipped folder. So what I can do is I can double click to open it, and there are two ways. What I do is I select the file that I need, and let me see, I want to go ahead and create beautiful things. That sounds like a good file. My DXF format, I want to drag and drop over here into my downloads folder. That may not make a lot of sense, but when I do that, it brings that DXF file out of the zip folder into my downloads folder where I can now access it. Now, if this folder is full of designs that you know you're going to use them all, you have this extract all option up here at the top, and it will extract them for you. Just hit extract, watch it complete, save all those beautiful little files to my computer. Okay, and once it's done, it does take a minute. If I go back to my downloads folder, you'll see that I have a new folder here called Crafting Bundle of 12, but it is not in a zipped format. So I can now open that and I would be able to use any of the files that are created here. Okay? So now let's notate that you are not opening these files straight from the folder. What we're going to do is go back to our Silhouette Studio software and open from within that location. Now that we are back in Silhouette Studio, let's talk about the two ways to open that file. I will go ahead and delete my greeting. This is our main page. This is the page you should have when you first open Silhouette Studio. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to go to File and Open, or File and Merge. Let me tell you the difference between the two. When I go to File and Open, this is my Downloads folder, and when I select my DXF file, it is going to open this file in a new tab right here. Do you see that? But if I decide that I want more than one design on a screen, I can go to File and Merge, and that is going to allow me to select another DXF file, and it brings it into the same workspace. Okay. I am going to undo that because I do not need two of them in the same workspace. But another thing that you'll notice with the DXF files is they come in with these line colors, but they are not filled in. Okay, and that is a-okay, because really, unless you're going to use this file as a print and cut, you don't actually need the design filled in. But you can see that all these pieces are individual pieces. So we do want to fix that if possible to be able to use this design going forward. Technically, I can click over to my Send panel, and you will see that my design will cut beautifully, just like it is. I can move it, I can do whatever I want to. Back in my design, I can make it smaller or make it larger. None of that changes. But I'm just an aesthetic person, and I like for my words to be filled in and complete. So what you're going to need to do, now this is called a drag box. I'm going to hold down my mouse button, my right click, no, backtrack, my left click. Okay? Left click, hold it down, and use this drag box to select that whole entire word. Okay? And let me show you what happens. I'm going to right click and choose Make a Compound Path. Now, if I choose to fill that in, you see it's this nice pretty word. Let me show you what happens if I don't do that. If I take it as is and fill it in, see how I lose the pieces inside of my letters? Now again, this is not going to affect the way that it cuts, but it's just a good thing to get in the habit of, to know and understand what making a compound path is going to do for you. It also helps me whenever I am going to cut files that are multiple colors, because I can determine which files are which colors are which, and make sure they all get cut correctly. So I would go to Make a Compound Path, and I can fill that in. And then on my hearts, I want to do the same, and we will fill them in with red. Now, my colors are not nearly as pretty as the colors that JSL Custom Creations used, but, you know, we can roll with it. Let's see. Let's change some colors around. What if we do, you know, I am a pink kind of person, and then instead of black, do you know how to select a custom color? Come over here to my fill, and if I open my advanced options, I can select any color I want. Ooh, so I do like that. I like the navy better. And then for my hearts, what color do I want? What if I do, oh, it's a little dark. There we go. That's what I like. Okay, so there's our file. I filled it in. I made it nice and pretty. Now let's talk about the easiest way to cut this in different colors. Now, I'm assuming that we are going to cut this in adhesive vinyl or cardstock or some other normal type of material, so we're not going to have to do anything crazy. All right, so what I'm going to do is I can hold down the Shift key on my keyboard, and I can select Create and Things because those are the same color, and I want to make sure that I cut those together so that I keep my placing. I can right-click and choose Group, and then I can do the same thing with the hearts. Select one heart, hold down my Shift key, right-click on the other heart, and choose Group. If you're a fan of shortcuts, you can use Control-G if you're on a PC, and it will group those as well. Now when I move them around, they stay together. So what I would do is simply determine the size that I need to cut. Say I am, you know what, I'm going to put this bad boy on my car. That's what I'm going to do. So I want it big, loud, beautiful. So I will move these out of the way, and then I will select which color I want to cut first. I usually go with the biggest one. This is going to be Create and Things, and I'm going to cut it out of navy blue. Now remember, the color is determined by the color of the vinyl I load in the machine. It is not determined by the color that I fill it with on here, but I just fill it with that color so that it reminds me of the color I am working with. It's like a mental cue to tell myself what color I'm loading in the machine. So once I have that positioned, let's also talk about another really useful tool that you're going to want to utilize. This is in your page setup panel over here on the right-hand side, and you want to make sure that you turn on your cut border. Now what this does is it gives you a red line that is going to tell you the very edge that you can cut your design to. Now you do not want to take your design and butt it all the way up to the edge. That's just not what we want to do. But it is important because say I decide I'm going to cut vinyl without a mat, and yes, you can do that. You can cut adhesive vinyl and heat transfer vinyl without using your cutting mat with the Silo Cameo. I can change my mat to none, and now you notice my red box comes in a little bit because it needs to accommodate where the rollers are going to hold the vinyl. Okay, today I'm using my mat, so I don't have to worry about that. But if you can leave that cut border turned on, it could potentially save you from a headache later on down the road. What I would do to move forward is click on my Send panel, and now I can choose Vinyl Glossy. It will fill with my default settings. Now it is important to notate the Test Cut feature down here at the bottom is going to cut a small square and triangle in the top of your mat up here. I always suggest doing a test cut because every machine and every blade is going to be different. Now, since I would be cutting 3 different colors of permanent adhesive vinyl, I am normally okay to cut the first color to do my test cut and use those subsequent settings going forward for the other 2 pieces. But definitely always do that test cut on your first piece. Whenever I'm ready and I decide that I have cut that and I want to move on, that is when I'm going to select my next color, bring that over to the cutting mat, click back to my Send panel, and here we are. Settings are going to be the same. If you want to, you could perform your test cut. This is our second piece of permanent adhesive vinyl, so it's not 100% necessary, but just keep it in mind, always recommended. Go back to design, move that word off, and now I am able to cut my hearts. Now you will notice that there's a large amount of vinyl that is going to be wasted in the middle, so if you're not a fan of that, you can ungroup these again and put them together, since that is a pretty easy placement to do. All right, you can do that by hand and place those hearts, wherever your soul leads you to place them. So that way you are being a little bit more conservative. So that is our summary of using DXF files. Remember, DXF is Basic Edition. Now, if you have already upgraded to Designer Edition, you are free to use those SVG files and you have absolutely nothing to worry about. With that being said, let's talk about using an SVG file because sometimes you do get upgraded software whenever you purchase a bundle. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and delete this off of my page because we do not need that at this very moment. I will go to File. I'm going to go to Merge, okay, because I don't have anything on the sheet. I can just go ahead and put a new file on there. And let's do I Can't, I'm Crafting. I'm going to select this time the SVG document. Now the first thing you notice is that this one comes pre-filled with colors. Super exciting because that is one less thing that I have to do, and it also helps me remember what color the designers chose out because usually they have pretty good taste. Now in theory, I would just be able to import this, size it, I say the bigger the better, but it all depends on what you're putting it on, if your blank can accommodate that size, and I should still be able to do the same thing. I can ungroup. Now you'll notice it only ungrouped one color at a time, so I also really like that. That's one more step that I don't have to do. When I click over to my Send panel though, did you notice that this did not light up in bright red? That is because when you import an SVG document, you need to click on your design and turn on your cut lines. Now, watch me do that again. You're going to click on your design and come over here under Tool 1 and click Cut. The same would go for the other part of the design. I will click on it and I will click Cut. It's important to remember when you come to the Send panel that if you do not have these thick, bold lines, usually in red, then it is not going to cut for you. Now, once I have my cut lines turned on, I'm free to set up this design however I want. I can still move these on and off from the Send panel to determine what I'm going to cut, or I can come back into the design area and do that here, which I find more comfortable. You can also remember to come in and do your test cut and cut it using the same settings, just like we did before, the vinyl glossy, and you should be good to go to proceed with this project. Now let's talk about one more type of file that you may encounter. A lot of designers will include a PNG or a JPEG format. And let's look at what those do for us. Now, under normal circumstances, the type of file you're going to download, it will be the DXF or the SVG format. But just in case you come across one that is only available as a PNG, let's see, I make pretty things. We're going to use that PNG file. Now this can be misleading because if you notice, it has a nice, pretty, transparent background, right? But if I right click, I cannot ungroup it. And if I come over to the Send panel, if I click on it and turn on my cut settings, you will notice I get a box. That is because your PNG is still just an image. The software does not recognize that it is filled with all that pretty text, and it simply knows that it is a rectangular object with some sort of filling on the inside. So to make that cuttable, what you are going to do is use your trace feature, open the trace panel, select your trace area, and draw your box around to trace your image. Now, we will do a follow-up video on how to best trace in your software, but just know that you can increase or decrease your threshold depending on what you are cutting, and you can increase or decrease your scale to get a better fill. Basically, everywhere that is filled in with yellow is an area that is going to trace. If I hit trace, I can now move my clip art off to the side. If I click over to the Send panel, I now have nice, pretty, bright red cut lines. So those are 3 different formats that you can easily use in Silhouette Studio, and hopefully this has been very informative to all of you beginners who are ready to tackle that first project. So, of course, if you have any questions at all, please feel free to leave those in the comments, and we will definitely check back with you and make sure that we get you the answers that you need. And once again, thank you for tuning in here with Design Bundles, and I definitely wish you all a very happy crafting.